Hey Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today to share with you this mini album. So that is the cover, created using these Sizzix snap and swap file folder metal dies. So these are awesome in that you have that base that I've put down, and then you have these interchangeable parts that you can use to create different file folders. And I am working on my Sizzix big. Mine is actually a big kick. I don't know that they make them anymore, but Big Shot, same difference. It's just with the big kick, you have the longer platform. I am actually not using the longer platform. I'm using my shorter platform, although I do think retrospectively looking at this that if I had put the longer platform on, I wouldn't have to do as much of the scissor cutting as I end up doing. So, this is the cover of the album, so there are no tabs on it, and I'm going to go ahead and set that aside and then pull out some other pieces of pattern paper from the 6x8 collection pack from Vicki Bouton's Curiosities in Willow Grove, done by 49th and Market. So there's the base, and I'm not doing this, but I recommend that you actually put the slotted side. So instead of doing it where I have it, put the tab closer to the rolling mechanism for your manual die cut machine. It will just decrease the likelihood of it jumping as you crack through the plate and slide out of place. I have been die cutting for a very long time, and sometimes, yes, there are accidents, but most of the time I am holding down over that seam, and so don't have that, that jump in my machine. I also die cut with a different plate sandwich than is normal, but I can't talk about it because it is a different manufacturer. So, don't be afraid to cut into, so that was a magnifying glass. And once you open the book, you can't really see that it's a magnifying glass, but it provides a really cool arc on either page there. So you can see that I've used I'm going to go with base rectangle for the cover, and then each of the three other sets of pages have tabs on them, one in the center, one on I'm going to call it the top, and then one on the bottom just for the alignment of the book. Even with the cutting here, I still get those nice crisp edges. That is what we are looking for, and the reason why many of us who do use die cuts do hand crank die cut machines, or you have the electronic ones these days. So I will go ahead and put these away, and now I'm going to create a folio mini album from these. But while I have the dies out and the die cut machine on the desk and I'm filming, I want to go ahead and cut all of the bits that I know I want. So I'm just using my scissors here because I'm too lazy to shift everything that's sitting on top of my trimmer to get this frame. So I know I want a small, thin green frame that will go on the cover, and then I'm looking for some just white cardstock, and it just so happens that I think this is watercolor paper in my little stash of stuff there, and then white cardstock for the labels that are going to go on each of the tabs. So I have a small green thin frame, just a white innard for that, and then I'm cutting 3 labels, one for each of the tabs. So can go ahead and put that all away now. I've done all the die cutting that I want to do. Now it's time to construct the book. So first, I'm going to build the cover. If I had run these through more than once, I might have had a greater chance of also getting clean cuts without having to use my scissors. But the risk that you run with that, if you don't tape these pieces down, is that it might shift as it goes through with the pressure. And so that's why I didn't run them through multiple times. There was no good reason for me to not have used tape. You saw that I used washi tape on the first one. Time is of the essence for me, and so I do things that just make time more effective. So there is 1/8 inch foam available. I, however, do not have that, but I also have fairly clean scissors, and so it's easy to cut down to 1/8. I just have a 1/4 inch foam adhesive from a Cherry on Top. that I've cut in half, and that provides a popped up frame, which just gives a little bit more dimension to the cover here. So I am going to use some of the rub-ons that are also from this Willow. I'm just going to go with Willow Grove instead of the really long name of Curiosities in Willow Grove by 49th and Market and Vicky Booten. So why did I go through that? Oh, I'm going to use a few of the rub-ons. I also have the foiled die cut assortment. So they are foiled acetate and vellum pieces that I want to use for the album. I really didn't get a whole lot from this collection. I got a few pieces of the pattern paper, which includes the tags and the pocket cards, of course, because I'm me. And those are what I always get. I got the 6x8 collection pack because I want to be able to use this in my memory planner. I got the rub-on transfers as well as those foiled die cut assortments. So while I was blabbing, I used a Simon Hurley stamp. They're just like a background water wash stamped look, and stamped that on the piece of pattern paper using some smudged inked watered inks. And then I used a partial rub-on, and now I have a few of the die cut pieces to just that. There's going to be no words on the cover because the words are actually within the tabbed part. That was way too long for my cover, so I just trimmed that down, and I'll be able to use that bottom half for something else. And while I'm digging through the embellishments, I'm like, oh, those stars will always come in handy, as well as those blue splashes. So that is the easiest way to get acetate down is to staple them, I think, personally. So I use my tiny attacher, and then because this is watercolor and it warps, I want a nice strong adhesive, so I'm going to use that liquid adhesive there. So to bind these pages together, I am simply using the 1/8 hole of the We Are Memory Keepers multi-hole tool punch, and then I have some jute, and I'm literally just going to thread it through the hole so that the ends are on the outside of the booklet, mini album, folio, whatever you want to call it. And I'm literally just going to tie those together there nice and tight. And it is a tight binding to hold all of those pages. And what's beautiful about 49th and Market is it is a very heavy cardstock for the pattern paper. And so that you have very sturdy pages. So I have that tab thingy with the star on it is from the foiled embellishments, die cut assortment. So that's going in a page. So now I've taken this phrase, leave the road, and I've cut it apart so that each of the tabs will have one word of the phrase on them, and that will become the title of this booklet. My intent when I created this, and I have not finished it, is that my husband and I went on a hike. And it was sort of a pre-fall, like really early fall hike. And so I have pictures of the trees, of our path, of our shadows, because again, I am me. And that is what I'm going to journal about. I have the screenshot of our the path that we walked, as well as the elevation incline. Ha ha ha, there wasn't really a whole lot, but from All Trails. So I will print that picture and then some of our pictures, and then the rest of it will be journaling of our little hike there, our little fall quote unquote hike outing. It was really early and there really wasn't a whole lot of color change, but we did see a lot of really cool mushrooms. So the tags, always get the tags. They make great interactives, be it on a scrapbook page, a mini album, your memory planner, even Traveler's Notebook. No matter where you're working, they are great for interactive pieces, and I love interactive pieces. So you can see I've cut out 2 of the tags there. This one I'm going to do a top-down fold. So you can see I'm creasing along where that zigzag stitch is, and I will attach that bottom 1/8, maybe 1/6, to the bottom of the little mini album there, and that will then tip down. Again, because it's an interactive piece and I want that to be pretty secure, I'm using liquid adhesive. I just find that it has a much tighter bond for me, especially with the weight of this paper. And then I want a little bit of decor on there, and because I want it to be interactive and off the the tag, I'm going to just rub that onto simple white cardstock, thin cardstock, and so that I can fussy cut that and then have that element. I did not buy any of the actual die cuts or ephemera pieces, so I don't have that as an option. Also, if you had bought the stickers, you could just use baby powder to take off the adhesive where you didn't want that. But so I am creating my own die cut by using the rub-on paper. Dead easy, right? And then fussy cut it if you happen to like fussy cutting, which I do. So that is a very simple embellishment for that fold down. Now I'm going to use the tag on a horizontal, and instead of using the actual I'm going to call it angulated top tag, I'm going to use the B side of that, which is that flat top tag there. And again, do something similar, only this time I'm going to put the rub-on directly onto the tag itself. So my trimming initially had left little bits of color, and I am type A and I cannot have that, so I had to get my other trimmer out and just trim that off. Didn't look like I removed anything. So this is the rub-on, and I know not all of this rub-on is going to show, and I did not want it to, but it was easier to just rub on the whole thing and then fold and tuck where I wanted to fold and tuck. So this is a project that I am doing for a cherry on top. All of these instructions are on the blog itself. I just didn't have step out pictures for it because I was filming to get this video. So you can definitely follow along with some written instruction. It's just not step by step. It's kind of more of a ramble like I'm doing now as I ramble through my project. So some of the, so that page that I just put that tag on with the dots, that is definitely where a photo is going to go because it would be very hard to journal there. That semicircle that you see there, it will definitely be where journaling goes because it is much more easier. Yes, good English, Suzanna. It is easier to be able to read that there than if I were to put it on where those dots are. So kind of keeping those things in mind where I want photos as I'm designing, but I could also just put vellum down and journal on the vellum, and you would still be able to see that on some of the spots. Like that fern that is just underneath there, that will definitely be where photo goes because it's just the easiest way to do that. So thanks for stopping in today. I hope you are doing well. If you have any questions, leave them in the boxes down below. Thanks for stopping in today. Come back again soon. Take care.